Now let's talk a bit about inserting data into these tables. I'm going to create yet another new query window that we can work in. And I want to make sure that I'm up to date. Edit IntelliSense refresh local cache. And I'm going to start inserting some data. So let's try first inserting some data into the character table. All right. If I expand my character table out and have a look at what columns it has, it'll give me a quick hint as to which columns I should use. So let's go with character name. And we'll set their level to 0 and their gold to 0. We'll let the create date do its default thing so I can show you how this default works. Let me just double check that I used that. Yes, I did. We'll leave the position information blank. And then we're going to need a player ID, but if we don't put that in, we get a particular error, and I just want to show you what that error is. Values, so my character name will be, let's put in Thor, his character level will be 99, and he'll have no gold. And it says I can't insert the value null into the column class ID. That's because class ID we've set up as a not null field. Okay, so let's put in class ID. And let's give it an ID of maybe 3. I'm going to just pick something at random. Maybe there's a class name 3. I don't know. Hit execute, and I get the same null problem with player ID. So let's put in some information for player ID. Arbitrarily, I'll put in a 5. Try to run that, and it says the insert statement conflicted with the foreign key constraint fk character player. My constraint fk character player says that I have to have a player ID that matches the player ID I'm putting into my character. So this player ID here, the number 5, has to have a matching ID in the player table. So let's find out. Select star from player. Oh, okay, I don't have any players yet. So I have to create a player record before I can create a character record. Insert into player. And let's just put in the necessary columns. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my insert into player statement. I run that. Now if I select from player, you can see that I have a player here. The player's ID is 1. So still, if I try to insert that character, I have a conflict with the foreign key constraint. Sure, I have data in there, but the ID that I'm trying to use here for the player ID doesn't yet exist. My player has an ID of 1. So let's put that Thor under James Marks and try to run it. Now I have another conflict that says it conflicted with the foreign key constraint fk character class. So we know that that third bit is telling us that's our foreign key that we've used on the class table. So that means that in order for us to insert this class ID of 3, we need to have a class in the other table. So we need another insert statement first. Insert into class. All right, and we've just put in a class name. And for that value, let's put in assassin. Actually, this is Thor, so let's use warrior. So I'm going to create that class now. Try to run my insert into character. Again, insert statement conflicted. That's because if we look at what's inside of my class table, I have a class ID of 1. I don't have any other class IDs, so 3 won't work. That means that I need to use the class ID for the warrior. And now I can insert that character. I'm just going to take this down to the bottom because that's the third step. And we can look at what's in our character table. So for this to work, we had to follow 3 steps. Step 1 was make sure we had data in our player table. That is one of our parent tables. Step 2 was to make sure that we have a class record, also parent table. And finally, we were allowed to at that point create our child record. And actually I'm saying table, but record is the correct expression here, because we want the class and player that actually directly relate to the character to be in the database already. And that's the gist of it. You must create parent records before you create child records. You must create parent tables before you create child tables. So DDL, the data definition language, that's the part where we create and drop our tables. For that, you have to create parent tables before you can create child tables. Otherwise, your foreign key won't work. So you need the parent table to be there before you can create a child table that references it. And the same thing applies with your DML. When you're running an insert, you have to make sure that your parent records exist before you can reference them using their IDs in these child records.